There are places in the world where the ocean itself feels alive. Places where compasses spin, ships vanish, and legends take shape in the fog. On the far side of the Pacific, just south of Japan, lies one such place. It's a patch of ocean feared by sailors, shunned by fishermen, and whispered about by pilots who dare cross its skies. The Japanese call it Maru No, the Sea of the Devil. To the west, it is the Dragon's Triangle. This stretch of ocean, said to rival the Bermuda Triangle, has swallowed vessels whole, disrupted radio signals, and birthed legends of monsters and ghosts. Scientists offer explanations: seismic tremors, methane eruptions, violent storms, but locals say there is something more to it. Something ancient. Something that watches. Today, we will enter the heart of this mystery. We'll explore the legends, the history, the modern accounts, and the chilling theories that surround the Devil's Sea. And by the end, you may find yourself wondering if the ocean is far stranger than we dare to believe. The Dragon's Triangle lies in the Pacific Ocean, off the southeastern coast of Japan. While the Bermuda Triangle is sharply defined, the Devil's Sea resists borders. Some maps place it between Tokyo, Guam, and the island of Yap, forming a massive triangle that stretches across nearly 1,000 miles of ocean. Others keep it smaller, bound by the Itsu and Ogasawa Islands, reaching down toward the Mariana Trench. No matter where the lines are drawn, sailors know its reputation. Japanese naval records from as early as the 13th century tell of a fleet swallowed by storms without warning. Samurai chronicles describe ghostly fires burning on the sea's surface, and Buddhist monks once declared the waters cursed, warning travelers to avoid them whenever possible. By the 1600s, fishing villages along the Japanese coast had their own rules. No fishing beyond certain islands. No voyages during particular moon phases, no crossing the sea without rituals of protection. Offerings of rice, sake, and salt were poured into the waves before each departure. Fishermen whispered that the sea was hungry, and if you did not feed it, it would take its due in blood. The name Dragon's Triangle comes from the stories passed down through generations. Sailors told of giant serpents coiling through the waves, their spines breaking the surface like jagged ridges of rock. Some claimed to see their eyes glowing red beneath the water. Others swore entire ships were dragged down by unseen forces, scales scraping against the hull just before the plunge. Then there were the Phantom Islands. Mariners recorded sightings of land masses that appeared suddenly on the horizon, covered in green vegetation, birds circling overhead. Crews set foot on these islands, some even lighting fires, only for the ground to shake and collapse beneath them. The Dragon's Triangle lies directly above some of the most volatile volcanic fields on Earth. Islands of ash and pumice can rise in days, floating like unstable rafts, then vanish back into the sea with no warning. To the sailors of old, they were dragons, surfacing to breathe before sinking back into the abyss. The legends alone might have been dismissed, stories told to frighten children or explain the dangers of the sea. But in the 20th century, the Devil's Sea made itself known again. This time in chillingly documented disappearances. Between 1950 and 1954, Japanese military records describe the loss of 5 vessels, totaling hundreds of men. Entire crews vanished without distress calls. Wreckage was minimal or entirely absent. Alarmed, the Japanese government organized an expedition. They commissioned a vessel called the Kaiyo Maru No. 5. Its mission? To enter the Dragon's Triangle, collect scientific data, and explain the mystery once and for all. On board were scientists, engineers, and a crew of more than 30 men. However, the ship never returned. It was presumed lost at sea, consumed like the others, not a single body was ever recovered. The tragedy shocked the nation. Japan officially declared the area too dangerous for maritime research. For decades afterwards, the Devil's Sea was spoken of with the same reverence as a haunted graveyard. Even now, older sailors refuse to cross it directly, preferring long detours around its invisible borders. Despite the losses, not everyone who enters the Devil's Sea is lost forever. Survivors have returned with stories that defy explanation. One fishing crew in the 1970s described a sudden fog that rolled in so thick they couldn't see the bow of their own boat. Their compasses spun uselessly, and the engine sputtered. For hours they drifted in silence, radios dead. When the fog finally lifted, they found themselves dozens of miles off course, with no memory of how they'd moved. A yacht crew in the 1990s recounted a more chilling encounter. They were sailing under calm skies when the sea beneath them began to boil. Not with bubbles, but with light. Glowing orbs rose from the depths, shimmering just below the surface before vanishing into the waves. The men swore it felt as though something alive was moving beneath their vessels, watching them. And then there are the pilots. One Japanese airline pilot told of flying over the air when his instruments failed. Altitude readings dropped to zero, compasses spun wildly, and strange interference filled the radio. A pulsing, rhythmic sound, like a heartbeat. The plane passed through turbulence so violent the crew feared for their lives. But once the skies cleared, the instruments returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. When asked to describe the sensation, the pilot hesitated, then simply said, "It felt like flying through a place that did not want us there." Of course, science has its own answers. Like mentioned before, the Devil's Sea is one of the most geologically unstable regions in the world. Underwater earthquakes are frequent, and those volcanic eruptions can create sudden tsunamis or rogue waves capable of capsizing even large vessels. Another explanation involves methane hydrate, frozen gas trapped beneath the seafloor. When released, it erupts violently, reducing the water's density. Ships caught above these eruptions could sink almost instantly, leaving little wreckage behind. There are also reports of magnetic anomalies, small regions where compasses point in strange directions due to local variations in Earth's magnetic field. Pilots and sailors navigating by compass could easily find themselves hopelessly lost. But here's the problem. None of these explanations account for everything. Methane eruptions don't explain the glowing lights. Seismic activity doesn't explain the phantom islands sailors swear they walked upon. And magnetism doesn't account for why vessels would vanish without sending distress signals. Which leaves us with the unsettling possibility. Some researchers believe the Devil's Sea is one of several global vile vortices, zones where gravitational and magnetic forces behave erratically. The Bermuda Triangle, the Dragon's Triangle, the Sahara Desert, and Antarctica are all part of this proposed network. Others see it as a gateway, a portal to another dimension perhaps, or an intersection between our worlds and something else. UFO enthusiasts point to the numerous reports of glowing objects entering and leaving the water. Could the sea conceal an extraterrestrial base hidden deep in the Mariana Trench? Still, others believe the old stories may hold some truth. The giant creatures, whether serpents, dragons, or something entirely unknown, lurk in the abyss. Lake Baikal in Russia has its humanoid divers. The Devil's Sea, some argue, may have something far worse. The Devil's Sea resists answers. For every scientific explanation, another question emerges. For every survivor who returns with a rational story, another swears they encountered something impossible. Perhaps that is the true power of this place. The Dragon's Triangle is not just a patch of ocean, it's a mirror, reflecting humanity's deep fears of the unknown. The fear of being lost, the fear of vanishing without trace, the fear that something vast and ancient stirs beneath the waves, indifferent to us, waiting for its next victim. The sea has always been a mystery, but here, in the Devil's Sea, that mystery sharpens into something more, something primal. Maybe it is only storms and earthquakes, or maybe it's dragons after all. One thing is certain, the Devil's Sea remains unsolved. And if you ever find yourself sailing south of Japan, remember the old fisherman's warning. Feed the sea before you cross it. Because if you do not, it will take what is owed.